Welcome to Greater Good Radio Hawaii, where leaders inspire leaders. Greater Good Radio Hawaii is dedicated to social entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Evan Leong, and with me is my co-host, Carrie Leong.
Mahalo, Evan. Today's guest is Walter Dods, retired CEO of First Hawaiian Bank. Mr. Dods is the first chairman of the board for BancWest Corporation and First Hawaiian Bank. He is also vice chairman of the board for Bank of the West and a Damon Estate trustee. Mr. Dods serves on the boards of numerous other businesses and charitable organizations. Please welcome to Greater Good Radio, Walter Dods. Welcome to our show, Walter.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So how did you get started in the banking industry?
Well, I started off out of high school as an office boy at First Insurance Company, which was located right about where we're sitting today. And I worked my way up through the insurance route and then ended up at Dillingham Corporation, which built the Ala Moana Shopping Center. And one day I saw an ad in the Wall Street Journal advertising for a young marketing person at First National Bank of Hawaii, and I applied for the job and got the job and started at the bottom at First National Bank, which became First Hawaiian Bank.
In a marketing position?
Yes.
That was your major in college?
No, I went to University of Hawaii all at nights. So I started as a mail boy and just took whatever courses I could get at night to get my degree. Finally got one in business, but more majoring in personnel and industrial relations. So I learned marketing on the job the hard way.
So what type of marketing was it then? Was it print ads and advertising?
Well, it started off when I went to Dillingham Corporation. I had been involved very early on in community affairs, and I very much loved working with community organizations, and that's how I got the job at Dillingham Corporation. 6 months after I started there, the PR and advertising person left the company, and they put me in charge of advertising. I had absolutely no background whatsoever, and the next day I was doing advertising campaigns to sell 1350 Ala Moana Arcadia, Phase 2 of the Ala Moana Shopping Center. It was a wonderful experience for me. I learned a lot.
Was it tough in that situation? Were you worried at all?
My whole life, I've been always one to take on challenges a lot larger than I was. And I guess had I known what I was going to get into, like many other things in my career, I never would have tried it. I would have been scared to death. But I was young and dumb and willing to work hard, and so I just took them on, never knew that I wasn't supposed to be able to accomplish those things.
Was somebody mentoring you at that time?
Throughout my entire career, I've always been lucky to have mentors at various stages. Even when I was an office boy at First Insurance, one of the old-time insurance agents took a liking to me and forced me to get involved in community service. So through my entire career, at one time or another, somebody mentored me along the way.
So even early in your career, you did a lot of community service endeavors.
Yes, as I said, I came right out of high school. My passion in life were hot rods. I never thought I'd ever amount to anything. I just wanted to drag race, and all my money went for gasoline for my hot rods. And one of the insurance agents, as I mentioned earlier before, said, you need to make something of your life. You just can't be racing cars, so I'm going to force you to go to a JC's meeting. I didn't know what the JC's were. I had no interest whatsoever in them, but he forced me to go. And that JC experience, and they were heavily involved in community involvement, and that sort of has been a pattern of my entire career after that, understanding that if you work in a community, you derive your profits from the community, you have to give back to the community, and it's been a lifelong philosophy since those early days.
So where did you go after the marketing position? Did you enter into the banking side?
Yes, when I applied for the job, I was criticized even then because they said, hey, you don't know anything about banking. How can you help us? And I said, well, most people in the community don't know anything about banking either. I think I can try to interpret what you crazies do and see if I can make the public understand it. So I did get the job, but obviously when you go into a company like that, if you're going to run an ad or write a press release or produce an annual report, you're going to have to learn the business. So I started learning the business, and then I ended up heading up the research department. Then I took on consumer loans, which I knew nothing about, then wholesale loans, then the entire general bank, all the branches, then operations, then computer data systems, trust. Ultimately, I ran almost every department or responsible for every department in the bank, and then ultimately ended up running the bank for 16 years.
So literally you did work yourself from the bottom up.
Yes, I did, and I loved it.
Was that part of your aspirations when you started?
No, when I got out of high school, I thought if I could ever make $10,000 a year, that would be the ultimate experience for me. I had no big goals, no big dreams early on. Obviously, along the way, I developed some of those things, but I wasn't one of those predestined to be someone.
So where did it come from then? How does this come about? If you're not planning it, you're obviously shooting for something, but
yeah, that's a very good question. Life is very interesting. I got involved in a community first, and I found that all these people that I admired and looked at, there were some really fine people, but I found when I got heavily involved that I felt I could do as well. And I found out they were human just like the rest of us, and that if you really put a lot of hard work into things, you could go a lot further than one would imagine. And so I just went in and said, hey, I can do this, and I did it.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay tuned for more on Greater Good Radio.